the Winged Helmet. I'm Kyle Simmons. I'm joined by former Michigan offensive lineman Thomas Guynes and a host of the ASAP Elite podcast, Rob Penn. Last Saturday, the number 3 ranked Michigan Wolverines kept their undefeated season alive with a 19-17 win versus Illinois. Blake Corum had 108 rushing yards and a touchdown before going out with an injury. J.J. McCarthy went 18-34 for 208 yards, and Jake Moody kicked 4 field goals, including the game winner with 9 seconds left. We'll start with Thomas. It wasn't pretty, like at all, but we got the job done in a tough game. So I guess, Thomas, is a 2-part question. What did you like about last week's win? And are there any concerns? I guess, if any, are there any concerns at all?
What I liked about last week's win was I didn't see any quit in the boys. They continue to grind it out and to, find that way to win. What concerned me was Illinois was almost like Indiana a couple of years ago when a lot of teams were having difficulties with our defense, and Indiana showed Ohio State how to beat that defense by just running those drag routes. And that came back to haunt us in that Ohio State game. I think what Illinois did this year was based off of the defensive packages in which they showed. They damn near blitzed us almost like every play, 8 men in the box. And obviously their concern was, you're not going to beat us with the run. We're going to make you make your quarterback beat us. And I think that right there was problematic for the Wolverines, as we saw throughout the game. Even though Blake did have, 100 plus rushing yards, making that, I would venture to say, his 10th, 11th consecutive game of 100 plus yards. But what we weren't seeing was the prolificness of our rushing game. We had a couple of, big chunk plays here and there, but we were definitely having difficulties moving the ball, especially in short yardage. I think that was one of the key things that caused a lot of our drives to stall. Obviously, going back to, as I was looking at Jake, and not Jake, but JJ, and I've been saying this all year long, the kid's got great arm talent, but he's got to stop just relying on, 100-mile-an-hour high fastballs. Got to show us a little bit of touch, but our receivers got to help him out as well. There were several times in which our receivers could have made some, decent enough catches. Number one in particular, when JJ thought we had the free play and the ball clearly went through his hand, clearly a catchable ball that would have been for a touchdown. So coming into this upcoming game on the 26th, these are the things, as I said before, that continue to give me pauses, our lack of consistency. I thought our defense was serviceable, but overall, when I watched that game, I really felt like Illinois' offensive line was getting the best between the two offensive lines. I thought Illinois' offensive line did a great job. Their version of Blake Corum came out, showed great patience in the hole, and then once the hole opened up, he was off to the races. So we have a long road to hoe in front of us. The injury bug, as I spoke about last week, actually 2 weeks ago, those are my biggest concerns. Can we get through the Nebraska game and the Illinois game and be healthy going into the 26th? Obviously, that has not been the case in point. So hopefully those guys that have been nicked up are going down to the building and getting 24/7 around the clock treatment, along with their classwork done, obviously. But all that to be said, it's going to be incumbent upon the boys to definitely make sure that they're getting the proper amount of treatment needed to get ready to go down to Columbus. Because again, if you've never been there, if you never played in that game, played in that stadium, it's one of the most adverse environments to play in. But if you're built for it, it's one of the best places to play in, and especially when you come out with a W.
So, Rob, I'm going to ask you the exact same question. What did you like about the win versus Illinois, and what are your concerns coming out of it?
Well, on the previous week, I spoke about the fact that we needed that trepidation. We needed that deep water game. We needed that opponent that really tests us to see what we're really made of, to prepare us for next week with Ohio State. I did like a lot of things. I like that we were able to gel together and pull that out without missing our Heisman. That's a big deal. When he got hurt, all the air, fell out my chest. But what you get from a game where two offenses are relatively stalled out is great stellar defensive play because there's no momentum going on. There's a mirror effect. When Anthony dropped that ball and when Gash dropped that ball, that was kind of took the air out of the momentum that we had going on. I don't forget we were down to our third and our fourth string running backs. So that's typical. Overall, I picked the 27-16 score, if I'm not mistaken. It was still within there and exactly what I thought that I would get from that team. But I knew that we wouldn't blow that team out because that was a good ball club at 9-3 coming in. But like Thomas preached, injury, health, that's a major factor for us to take that blow right there in that game. That could be an issue. Hopefully we have Schoolmaker back next week. Hopefully we get Edwards back and we're at full power, where we're serviceable, where we have a viable number 2 running back. But besides that, I took out exactly what I thought it would be. Big Ten black and blue type game. Like I say, 12-round fight. Tip my hat to our kicker. That's a bad boy. And that's it, man.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big things about that game last week, as Rob alluded to, was we did ended up in that deep water, and it was nut cutting time, so to speak, going down to your third and fourth string running back. I know we're not fully healthy on the offensive line as well, so I really need for JJ really to come up big in this next game, because believe it or not, they're looking to make JJ win the game. And if I'm JJ, if you're going to put it all on my shoulders, guess what? I'm going to show you something. I'm going to give the world something to watch. I'm going to come down here to the shoe. I'm going to go ahead and light it up. I'm going to show all the pundits that I am a complete quarterback. I'm not just a running athlete that's playing quarterback, that when I drop back and I get out here and I start, throwing that pill around, I'm going to be on target. And when it's time for me to run, I'm not going to be afraid to run. I think that's the other thing too that we need to watch in JJ's play, is that he's kind of fallen into that trap, so to speak, when you are an athletic quarterback, that you want to show the world that you are a real quote unquote quarterback, and you're not running during the times in which, hey, dude, take off and run. God blessed you with that level of speed and elusiveness. Then let's continue to use that to our advantage, so to speak. Don't just sit back and throw passes for the sake of throwing passes, and especially when you can pick up more chunk plays with your legs than you can with your arm at that particular juncture of the game.
So, Rob, Thomas, this is it. This is what we've all been waiting for right here. The greatest rivalry in history of college football, bar none. Michigan's going to go down south to take on that team down there, and presumably, I don't want to jump the gun, but presumably, the Big Ten championship is on the line here. Also, a trip to the college football playoff. So, it's a really big game. One of the biggest games I can remember in quite a while around here. So, obviously, the team down south there, offensively, they're led by Stroud, Williams, and Harrison. So, Thomas, what are we going to have to do?
Jackson Jimbo, boy. Man.
What are we going to have to do to slow them down?
Again, it's going to be with CJ Stroud. Our defensive coordinator needs to come up with some exotic looks. Our guys need to get home and make CJ uncomfortable. I think that's one of the biggest things, that even if we're not getting sacks, getting that kid to move around, but also in doing that, not losing contain, right? If we're getting that pressure, I don't want to get pressured for the sake of giving up contain and letting him, as I just spoke about before, beat us with his feet. My other concern is that our secondary is going to have to hold up. You just talked about Marvin Harrison Jr. The kid's a beast right now. Just based off the size alone, my fear right now is going to be the 50-50 ball, and based off of his physical metrics at this particular point, that's going to be one of the deciding factors. On our offensive side of the ball, we, as an offensive line, we have to keep JJ upright and his uniform clean. Their defensive end / outside linebacker, number 44, is a beast right now. Has been showing me a great motor, plays really well with his hands. And even if he's not getting his hands up, batting balls down, I want to say last week or week before last, he ended up with an interception as well. So they had athletes, obviously, on both sides of the ball, but going back to, nuts and bolts football, win the turnover battle, and we have to win the time of possession. And once we get down into the red zone, we have to get 6. We have to put the ball in the end zone more than we're kicking field goals. Jake Moody is clutch, and obviously that's been, Jake Moody for MVP this year, as far as I'm concerned. You can talk all you want to about Blake and the job in which he's done, but as a team, you definitely got to sit back and give the nod to Jake Moody at this point. Other than a couple of missed field goals that, in my opinion, weren't really his fault. Hey, the wind took it. It was nature at that point. But overall, we have to put the ball in the end zone once we get those opportunities, and we have to continue to keep JJ upright. And lastly, JJ, you have to put the money on the ball when we have the opportunity to take the game vertical. You have to drop these balls into the bucket, and our receivers just got to come up and play. I think the game is going to be won and lost in the secondary of both schools. Whoever's secondary shows up the best, I think is going to end up cinching the game for either school.
So, Rob, what's the key to the game?
Key to the game is come out, play our style of ball. Hopefully, like I said, use the styles make fights moniker. We keep running this ball, because if we can run this ball on Ohio State, we control this clock, we can win this game, hands down. Yep. At the same time, it's going to come down who's tougher. Possession. Yep. Who's tougher? Who wants it more? It's going to be like that game we had, 4 years ago with Rashawn Gary and all them boys, where Barrett, got that mystery 4th and 1. We need one of those games, deep water, Moody kicking a field goal for the win. Game over. Go blue. We're going to Indianapolis.
So, yeah,
Tom. And with that being said, when's the last time both teams that came into this game undefeated? So this right here is a historic moment in this rivalry, especially with the team from down south having the upper hand for, dare I say, the last decade. This year coming in, both teams undefeated and having to go down there and play. What better way to end this season, or at least in the regular season as a Wolverine, than to go down to the shoe against the undefeated Buckeye team, highly touted team, ranked number 2 in the country at this point, and come out with that W. Ladies and gentlemen, there's no better feeling. Having been there, done that, there's no better feeling than to go down to the shoe and to shut up the entire state of Ohio, and then to go get on the bus, singing "Hail to the Victors," and just look at all the sad faces as we roll out of town. Coming on back to good old Ann Arbor.
Ann Arbor. All right.
We usually go to the predictions, but pretty sure we're all going to say here. So we're all going to say the same thing here, but I'm just going to say it. Michigan's going to win on a very close game. Like you said, Jake Moody's the MVP. Jake Moody's going to win this game for us. Go blue.
23-21, University of Michigan Wolverines. Hell yeah.
I don't even have a score for you. I just want to come out with the W and, again, come out injury-free. Punch these dudes in the mouth repeatedly in a very gregarious fashion that we're going to come out here and stand in the middle of the O. Ladies and gentlemen, trust me, there's no place I would rather be right now. If I could go back to 21-year-old me and strap it up one more time in this game right here, ladies and gentlemen, I would do that in a heartbeat. I would say in the 48-year-old body right now, I got at least 10 plays in me. Now, I don't know what's going to happen after those 10 plays. You might have to get the ambulance and wheel the big fella back to the locker room. But I think I got at least 10 plays for this game. So my prediction is, obviously, it's going to be a Michigan win. It's going to be a blue day. We're going to shake up the world and really show the country what this team is really made of.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's it this week for Under the Wings Helmet. Come back next week where we're going to talk about the Big Ten championship game and celebrate. We're going to start celebrating, right? So that's it. Check us out on the Believe Network. Check us out on Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, ASAPElite.com. We're everywhere. Under the Winged Helmet. I'm Kyle Simmons, Rob Penn, Thomas Guynes. Go Blue.
What up, dude?
Go Blue.